So, guys, what about screen sharing? Uh, is the screen visible for you now? Yeah. So the screen is visible, right? So I think I can. Okay. So Tarun Ram, can you please mute?
Oh,
Okay. So guys, in the last class, we discussed about the. In the last class, we discussed about the 1 second. Let me start the recording. Yes. Okay. So, good afternoon, students. In the last class, we discussed about the working of the stable as well as monostable multivibrator. Correct. So, in today's class, let's see the applications of this monostable multivibrator. Okay. So, in today's class, let's see the applications of both these monostable as well as a stable multivibrator. Okay. Fine. So, coming to the applications of monostable multivibrator. So here the applications of this monostable are frequency divider, missing pulse detector, pulse width modulator, pulse position modulator. So out of these applications, so let's see this frequency divider application first. So this is what you people have for the syllabus. So you have two circuits, frequency detector, as well as missing pulse detector, frequency divider and missing pulse detector. So these, so guys, you people can stop me in between if the audio is not clear or whatever could be the reason, if any issues regarding the voice or screen. Okay, so you can unmute your mic and you can just tell me. Okay, so coming to the frequency divider, so on screen, the first two circuits, whatever you are seeing, okay. The first two circuits, whatever you are seeing, are the waveform as well as the circuit of frequency divider. Okay, so this is the monostable circuit which is designed to perform the frequency division. Okay, so if you observe in the waveform, the first square waveform trigger input you can see, so it is a negative going trigger that is coming after t. Okay, so after t period of time it is coming. Okay, so next the output waveform here below. Okay, so here what is happening, so here the frequency is getting divided. So what is the meaning of it? So in the first, see, you know that frequency is inversely proportional to the time period, correct? So t is equal to 1 by f, or the vice versa, f is equal to 1 by t. Okay, so here the time period in the first wave is t, whereas in the second output waveform the time period is 2t. So the frequency is divided, that's why time period has
Mansa, 1 second.
increased. Okay, so frequency of the second wave will be 1 divided by 2, whereas time period
Mansa,
is 2t. Ha, Shah?
students are asking to Zoom, if possible, download and upload.
Download, yeah, let me see. Okay, yeah, what about now?
Now it's fine.
Is it fine?
Mm.
Okay, fine. Okay, so here you can just see how exactly this monostable multivibrator works as a frequency divider. So you can just see here, this is the input trigger that has applied, correct? So we know that we have understood in the previous class, coming to the working of this one. So the output of this monostable multivibrator goes high with the occurrence of this first negative going trigger. Okay, so as soon as this first negative going trigger appears, we know that the transistor will disconnect it, and the output of the SR flip flop, which is present inside the 555 timer, so that will the output will be 0, so that q bar will be 1. Once the q bar is 1, that q bar is corresponding to pin number 3, which is nothing but the output of the monostable multivibrator. So these things we have already seen, right? Okay. Okay, so that's why as soon as this circuit encounters a negative going trigger, the output of this circuit will go up. Okay, so that's why we are going to have high output. Okay, so next, coming frequency division, how exactly it is done. So here, while designing, we know that T on time, T on is given by this formula. So what is this formula? T on is equal to 1.1 into RA into C. Okay, so now that while I design my circuit, what I'm going to do is, so I will select the values of this resistor and capacitor such that the frequency on time of this output waveform, it is slightly higher than the next negative next negative going trigger. Okay, so what I'm going to do, so I'm going to keep the t on slightly longer than the time period t. Okay, so what is this time period t? So this t is the time taken for the next negative going trigger to appear, right? So going trigger will appear, and after t duration, you can see the duration here. After t duration, I will get my second trigger, correct? Okay, so what I'm going to do, I will choose the values of this R and C such that what happens here, this t on period will be little more than this t. Okay, so t is the time at which I will get my second trigger, but t keeping it bit greater than, bit longer than this t. Okay, so what happens by that? Okay, so once this t on is greater than this t, okay, so it is going to see this output is in t on, right? So this circuit is going to neglect this second negative going trigger. Okay, so once it neglects that negative going trigger, so what happens, it remain in t on only. Okay, so what happens to the frequency gets divided by 2. So whereas time period will increase by t. Okay, so the next time it will go on when the next negative going trigger comes. Got it? Okay, so guys, any doubts here? So guys, nothing. If I have confused you, it's nothing. So what it does is, so exactly this is what the input is. So what you're going to do, you will write the circuit. Okay, so after the circuit, so you will write the waveform, input waveform. So input waveform time period will be t, and output waveform time period will be 2t. So what is t here? One complete cycle is nothing but the t, right? Okay, so how exactly this 2t is achieved? So here what you're going to do, so you t on time, you will increase it bit greater than this t. Okay, so you can see here t is this one, and t on is this one. So once this t on period is done by choosing this capacitor values and resistor values, so automatically it comes down. Okay, so automatically it comes down in the monostable multivibrator, because the stable state is the low state, correct? So this we know, this story we already know. So what we are going to do, so once it is done, so it will go high, the output will go high only when the next trigger comes. So in between we are skipping one trigger. That's how the frequency division takes place. So what do? We just skip one trigger in between. How are we going to do? Just by choosing the values of RA and RC, by keeping T on period little longer than T. That's all the story what you need to. If I have confused you, I have just repeated the things, right? Okay, so if you have understood this much, it's well and good, fine. So let's move on to the next application. The next application is a missing pulse detector application. What exactly is this missing pulse detector application? This monostable multivibrator, it can be used to detect a missed pulse. What is the meaning of this pulse? This pulse is nothing but it's a type of a wave, okay, rectangular wave. So it, which goes on coming silently, okay. So this pulse, it will go on getting this pulse infinitely. We can assume something like that. So this pulse is accepted a trigger, okay. So it is expected at some intervals, okay. So the time period is fixed. At each of these intervals you are expecting the uh, pulse, okay. So sometimes due to some reason, due to some noise, so you may not get that pulse, okay. That you can automate here. You can automatically detect if at all, if a pulse is missed. So how exactly you can detect that one? So here is the circuit diagram. You can see here to the left side, okay. So here what is happening here is, so you have connected one more transistor. So guys, remember that one transistor is already there in 555 timer, correct? 555 timer IC. So here one extra transistor I have connected, okay. So and you please observe here, the type of transistor that we have connected externally is not a NPN transistor, it's a PNP transistor, correct? So can you differentiate this one? So there we are using PNP transistor. You can just observe the direction of the arrow mark. Okay. So that arrow mark is inwards. In NPN, what we are having outward direction arrow. Okay. So but now we have a inward direction arrow. The transistor that we are using is PNP transistor. So in this you can see here, this is the base, n is the base, right? So this n is connected to pin number 2. What is pin number 2? Pin number 2 is a trigger, correct? So when you apply a low trigger to the n type base of the PNP transistor. Okay, so what you are applying? You're applying low to N. Okay, so low to N means it's like a negative terminal of a battery to N. It's a forward biased condition, correct? Okay, so P to positive terminal, N to negative terminal. Here, low trigger is nothing but, you can see the low trigger here. Okay, so this is the low trigger. So guys, the arrow movement, you people, it's getting struck, right? You can't see the arrow movement. Okay, so fine. It's okay. You can just see here, this in the output waveform, the first waveform here. Okay. So here, the negative trigger you are applying, zero you are applying. Zero is connected to the N base. Okay. So what happens? This transistor gets forward biased. Okay. So since it is forward biased, what happens because of this? When the transistor conducts, and this capacitor, it gets clamped to zero point 0.7 volts. Why 0.7 volts? You guys know it very well. That is the forward. That is the voltage required for a transistor to conduct, silicon transistor to conduct. And you know this clamping circuits also. So this capacitor, it gets clamped to zero point 0.7 volts, which you can see here in the second waveform. Okay, so what happens? And this, once that it gets clamped, okay, so this trigger input goes high, this pulse output, pulse, you'll get it, no? So because of which this capacitor starts charging. So at the same time, what happens? The output also goes high. Okay, so here the output is maintained high. Okay, so the output is maintained high till you go on receiving the pulse. So once you stop getting the pulse, so the output of this particular circuit goes low. How exactly this is maintained? Again, by designing, we are going to achieve this one. So how do we achieve this one? The time period of the monostable circuit is made slightly greater than the 1/3 wave. Okay, so the time period of the monostable circuit Why 1/3 VCC? With the charging and of the capacitor, it takes place between 2/3 and 1/3 VCC. Correct? So once it reaches 2/3 VCC, what happens? So it means that the capacitor, the transistor is on. Correct? So here, whatever the external transistor that we have connected, that is off. Okay. So we won't let the capacitor to charge to its peak. Okay, to its 2/3 VCC. Fine. So see, you can see here. So from the 0.7, it is going to 1/3 VCC and it is coming back. So here it never reaches the 2/3 it here with the help of this external transistor. So once it reaches VCC, it means that this transistor is negative. It is not off. Okay, so this PN junction, whatever this junction is there, that is forward by reverse biased. Sorry. Okay, so it is reverse biased, and this transistor, external transistor, is off, and this capacitor, it's charging towards 2/3 VCC. So once it happens, automatically it goes back to the normal working of the monostable operator. So how exactly a monostable multivibrator works? From the after you have a T on for some particular period of time, it comes. So it comes back, the output goes low. Again, when you get to the next pulse, again the output goes high. So since you have a low in the output, you can easily detect, you can easily tell that yes, one pulse was missed. So what about now the voice? Is it still breaking or is it fine now? Okay, fine. Okay, fine. So 2 more minutes. Fine. So here, if you see any low output, then it indicates that some pulse was missed. Okay, so because of this, because of what detecting capacity, so this circuit you can use to find out a missed heartbeat. Okay, so if at all, if a patient is suffering, or if it is if he or she is having any heart problem and all, you have to continuously monitor their heartbeat, right? So if at all, if they miss even one heartbeat, then you people can easily detect it by using such circuits. Okay, so guys, on screen, I don't know whether it's visible for you or not. So on, because here in my other device it has not changed. So are you seeing the problems? So you have two problems here. So very easy. Okay, so direct formula substitution. In the first one, the first problem, they have asked you to find out the capacitor value by giving resistor as well as T on time. And you know the formula T on is equal to 1.1 RC. So what you are going to do, you are going to just substitute it to T on is equal to 1.1 RC, and you will calculate, C is the unknown, you will calculate the value of C. Okay, so next, in the second problem, again they have asked, by giving the capacitor value, they have asked to find out the resistor value. Okay, so here also the same formula you're going to use. T on is equal to 1.1 into RC. R you need to find out, they have given T on as well as C. Fine. So it's very simple problem, so that's why we are not solving it. So if at all, if you people are having any doubts, you can come back, we are ready to explain it. So guys, is the screen, so guys, now I'm in the screen of application and multivibrator, a stable multivibrator application. It's a square wave oscillator generator. So is the screen visible for you?
Still, it's in problem, Manasa.
Problem yeah. Okay, so now what about now? Is the square wave oscillator?
No, no.
Huh?
ఇలా ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ లేదు.
Okay. So let me stop and let me do it again. It may work. So, guys, what about now? So, is the circuit visible now? Square wave oscillator generator.
No,
Huh?
no. Nothing is there.
Okay, fine. So, guys, I think it's visible now, right?
Okay, students, some problem with the monthly months. Till she starts, we'll take up the attendance. Be ready with your USN. Let me start. Take the module USN 001. Type and keep your USNs ready. As soon as I call your USNs, just drop it in the chat box. One, USN one, USN one, Asta. Two, three, three, four, three present, four, five, five. Abhishek Mishra. Absent. Six, seven, eight, nine, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15, 15, Anagastri absent, 16, 17, 18, Listen 18, Ankit, 23, 23, Aryan, 24, 25, Banupriya, Banupriya, 26, 23, Aryan present, 27, 27, Shreyarch, 28 present, 29, 29, CM Rakshit, absent, 30, 30, Chandan S, 30 absent, 31 present, 32, 29 present, S, 29 present, 33, 33, Chirag, 34, 34, Chirantan, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 39, Deepali, absent, is 40, 40, absent, 41, 41, Shreyar Shah, okay, 42 present, 43, 43, Suchita, Suchita absent, 44, 45, 46, okay, 47, 47, 48, 47 absent, 48 present, 49, 50, Gurudarshan absent, 51, 52, 52, 52 Harish Kumar absent, 53, 54, okay, 56, 57, 58, 59, 59, 59 Manasa Shetty absent, 60, 60, okay, 61, 61 absent, 62 present, 63, 63, 63, one second, wait, hold for a time. 59 Manasa Shetty is present. Wait for a minute. Mansa, the Janvi, pencil. 61 present, 62, 63, 63, Anish Shetty, 63, It's 32. Itana TSS present. 63. Manish Shetty absent. Okay, 64. 65. Kamal. Is it Kamal absent? 65 absent. 66, 67, 68. Okay, 69. 70. 71. 71. Krutik. Okay, Krutik absent. 72. 73. 74. 75. 76. 77. 78. 79. 80. 81. 82. 83. 83. 84. 84. Monish absent. 85. 86. 85 absent. 86. 87. 88. 89. 89. Navin Kumar. 91. 91. 92. 93. 94. 95. 96. 97. 98. 99. 100. 100. Okay, Sai Tarun is absent. 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6. Okay, and then let's equal it. Open up. 106. Okay, 106 absent. 7. 107. 107 absent. 108. Okay, 109. 9. Pranav. Pranav is absent. 10.
Ma'am, Pranav present, ma'am.
Sorry, pa. 9 present. 10 present. 11 present. 12 present. 13. 14. 15. 15. Praveen. 15. Praveen. Absent. 16. 16. Pritam. Absent. Preeti. 17 present. 18. 18. Prince Kumar. Okay, he is absent. 19 present. 20. 20. 20 present. 21. 22. 23. 24. 24. Okay. 25. 26. 27. 27. Ramnath. Okay, 27 is not there. 28%, 29%, 31, 31%, 32, 33, 33, Rohan, 33, absent, 33 is present, 34 is 130%, 33%, 34, 34, Rohan, absent, 35, 36, 30 also present, yes, 30 present, 36, 36, absent, 37, 37 absent, 38, 38%, 39%, 40, okay, 41, 42, 42, Sangana Gowda absent, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 55 is absent. Sorry, 55 is not there. 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 67, 68, 68, 69, 70, 70, 71, 71, Vaishnavi, 72, 73, 73, Varshita, 74, 75, 75, Vishal, 75, Vishal, Vishal is absent, 76 present, 77, 77, Vishwas, absent, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 81 present, 82, 82 present. Tikshna, are you there? If you are there, just say yes. Oh, 1 second, wait, I'll change. I will update old name in it.
Asha, can you please scroll down to Smith trigger? Hello.
It's fine.
Yeah. So guys, any doubts in the peak detector circuit? Asha, page 21.
Mansa, we didn't listen peak detector.
You know,
Peak detector explanation ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ.
peak detector explanation ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಲಿಲ್ವಾ?
ನಾನು ಇಷ್ಟೊತ್ತು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಅಟೆಂಡೆನ್ಸ್ ತಗೊಂಡೆ.
ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ಡಿಸ್ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗೋಗಿದೆ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದೆ. ಸರಿ, ಪೀಕ್ ಡಿಟೆಕ್ಟರ್
ಬೇಬಿ
ಹಾಕು.
ಇದೇ ಕೇಳಿಸಿಲ್ಲ. ಮಲ್ಟಿ
ಯಾವುದು?
ವೈಬ್ರೇಟರ್ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ಸ್ ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ.
ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ, ಸರಿ ಸರಿ
ಫ್ರಮ್
ಸರಿ.
ಹಿಯರ್ ಇಟ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕನೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಆಯ್ತು.
ಫ್ರಮ್ ವೇರ್ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಡೂ ನೌ ಯು
ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್
ಡಿಸ್ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್.
ಎಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ ಮಲ್ಟಿ ವೈಬ್ರೇಟರ್.
Okay, okay. So, guys, coming to the applications of stable multi vibrator. So, here we have one application. So, that is called as square wave generator. Okay. So, what exactly is this square wave generator? So, square wave, where T on will be equal to T off, correct? So, how do you design that T on is equal to T off? So, when you have 50% duty cycle. So what do you mean by 50% duty cycle? 50% duty cycle is nothing but the time duration at which your output waveform will be in the on period. If it is 50%, on period is 50%, obviously off period time will be 50%, correct? So that's why it's a square wave generator. And how exactly you're going to design that? When by choosing the same values of RA and RE. So on the screen you can see the circuit. Okay, so we have two resistors. Okay, so there, the values of both RA and RB, what we are going to choose are same. Okay, so that we achieve this 50% duty cycle. So guys, this the same stable multi-vibrator again we are implementing in the lab. Okay, so you will see, you will implement it, you will understand it better in lab. Okay, so we have this as a lab cycle experiment. So now let's move to the next topic, that is the op amp. Fine. So what exactly is this op amp? You know that op amp is a short form of operational amplifier. Okay. So here, this op amp you will get it in terms of IC also. So you can have operational amplifier op amp as in the IC form. Okay, so it's a 8-pin IC. Okay, and you know that there are two inputs for this op amp. One is inverting in at pin number 2 and non-inverting at pin number 3. Okay, sorry, that pin number 2 inverting input is denoted with the help of that minus symbol, and non-inverting symbol, non-inverting input is denoted with the help of plus. Okay, so output you have at pin number 6, and plus pin number 7 and 4 are plus VCC and minus VCC. That external power supply we have to give to the op amp. Okay, so coming to the applications of this one. So here, for your syllabus, you have around 7 to 8 applications. Okay, so in which the first application is the peak detector circuit. So what exactly is this peak detector circuit? So guys, this peak detector is the circuit which is going to detect the peak of a input wave. What is the necessity of detecting the peak? So guys, if we are having the input waveform as a sine waveform, if the amplitude is 10 volts, then we know that. So 10 volts will be the maximum peak. Okay, so if it is a peak to peak 10 volts, then 5 volts is the maximum peak. But always it's not the case that we have sine wave as our input, right? So the input waveform will vary, right? So you may have any type of wave as the input. So there, if you want to detect the peak, if that circuit want to detect what is the maximum level of that voltage that the circuit can detect or it can attain, so in such cases this peak detector circuit will come into picture. So what you are going to do is, so you are going to detect the, so this your circuit is going to detect the peak value, the maximum high value that it can attain. Okay, so on screen you're seeing the simplest peak detector circuit. Okay, so this diode and capacitor, those two plays a very major role in detecting the peak. So how exactly the peak detection is done? So input, you are applying that wave, we through the with the help of the Vn, a sine wave is generated. Okay, so a wave is generated and which is given as the input. So what happens there, you know that similar to sinusoidal, is the sinusoidal wave, what is you are having, so you are having a positive peak as well as a negative peak, right? Okay, so ground reference voltage you will be having, ground line you will be having at 0 volt. So the upper portion is the positive peak and the down portion will be the negative peak, correct? So whenever you have a positive half cycle of that input, so that diode, anode of that diode is connected to positive. So that's why that diode will be forward biased. That diode conducts. And what happens, because the diode is conducting, the capacitor starts charging. Okay, so and it charges up to the value where you uh, where Asha, can you just go to the waveform? Yeah, you can see here. So it will start uh, charging, the capacitor starts charging, and once the peak is detected, you can see a horizontal line there, correct? Okay, so that is the capacitor value, charge value. So that capacitor, once it attains the peak value, it doesn't get discharged. So this MOSFET, whatever that switch is there, so you have to close it externally for that capacitor to discharge. Okay, so until and unless you discharge it explicitly, it doesn't get discharged. Okay, so it maintains that value. Okay, so it has charged up to the first peak. You can see here in this first one, so this is the lowest peak in the no, the second lowest peak in this complete input waveform, correct? So it is going to detect that one first. So next, in the second so for the second time, you get a peak which is peak in which the peak value is higher than this whatever the circuit has detected, correct? So at that one you can just see that horizontal line, and from there again the capacitor will charge to a new peak value. Okay, so once that peak value is achieved, so how do you say that that peak value is achieved? Input start decreasing from that point, correct? So once that input start decreasing from that point, so what happens, the diode gets reverse biased. So because the diode is reverse biased, the capacitor stops charging, but it won't discharge. Okay, so it maintains that stagnant value, same value. Okay, so until it detects the next highest peak. Now for the third time, again highest peak is detected, but after that, when for the fourth time, the peak whatever you have at timestamp t1 is less than that, peak value is less than the highest peak value whatever we have detected so far, right? So our objective is to find out the highest peak value. That's why that peak at t1 is just neglected. Okay, so next at V naught is the highest peak for this particular input. So that will be detected, and that is the output of this particular circuit. This is working fine. The circuit is also simple. Then what is the problem of this? When why do we have this second complex or improved or modified circuit? So it is because for this simple circuit, when you connect a load, okay, so normally you don't want this to work as an independent circuit, right? So normally you're going to use it for the with the load. Okay, when you want to use some circuit for the real time application, so you're going to use it, you're going to connect it to the load to get the application to take out drag the application from that circuit. So what happens when you connect the load to this simple circuit? So the charging, whatever that capacitor has detected that peak value, so it may not able to maintain that value. Okay, so that's why we need this improved circuit. Asha, previous page.
Answer which page?
Improved circuit, Asha. Second circuit. Yeah. So here you can see here to that basic circuit. So guys, I think it's clear, no? My voice is clear and you are it's audible. So guys, let's see this one and let's wind up today's session. Okay, so what is happening here in this modified peak detector circuit is, so here you we are going to connect a voltage follower. Okay, so here one op amp A1, operational amplifier O1 or A1 op amp is added as an extra op amp, right? So this acts as a voltage follower. So what exactly happens here? So V in whatever you are applying, so the same thing comes out from this A1 amplifier, the first op amp. Okay, so that is given to this D1. Okay, so this D1 and this capacitor, these two are doing the peak detection job. Okay, so next you can just see here this D2 is added as an extra diode here. So what happens is when the negative peak comes, okay, so when the load is connected, so this extra circuit whatever we have added, so that takes care that prevents the capacitor from discharging, so that the circuit obtains stability and it can with it can stand with that load, whatever the external load that has been applied. Okay, so guys, any doubts so far? Are you understanding it? Any doubts, guys? So guys, if you people don't have any doubts, I think we can just wind up for today. Okay, so in the next class, let's start with the Monday's class. Let's start with the Smith trigger. Okay. So wait. Can you repeat the modified circuit? Yes, Deepa. I can repeat the modified circuit. Fine. Yeah. Yes. So here, what is the need of this modified circuit? See, in that circuit, simplified circuit, what happens? Actually, so guys, where exactly? See, normally what it's going to happen is, we are not going to use this as an independent circuit. So what we are going to do, whatever the output that we have fetched, it's something like that. I don't know how you people are, how to make, because I can't write here. That is the problem what I'm facing. Okay, so what we are going to do is, so whatever the output that we are obtaining from a circuit, so normally that will be connect, that particular circuit will be connected to some load. So it means, for example, if you are amplifying some voice, then what is the load? So load will be, you can just take it as some loudspeaker, right? So that is the load which is driving your amplifier, correct? So there what happens is, whatever your voice that gets amplified, will that load, what is driving that circuit is that big speaker. Okay, so where your voice gets amplified and it is displayed at a very high frequency. Are you getting this one? Okay, so that is nothing but a load. So whatever you are doing in the circuit, so you, if you want to take a real application, then it should, that it should drive a load. Okay, so when a load is connected to your simplified circuit, that what is the main heart of logic of this particular circuit? The capacitor value is retained, correct? That's how you can tell that the peak is detected. But as soon as you connect the load, what happens, it cannot, the capacitor cannot withstand that load, and the chances of discharging will be there. Okay, so that's why what we are going to do. So here, to that same base circuit, what is that extra thing that we have added? Here we have added one more op amp to the front simplified circuit, correct? So here, this A1, op amp A1 is connected as a voltage follower. It acts as a voltage follower. Ma'am, what do you mean by voltage follower? So whatever the voltage that you have at the input, the same thing you will have at the output. The output follows the input, is what the job of voltage follower is. And now if you observe here in this circuit diagram, for the op amp A1, I said that this A1 is acts as a voltage follower. So what is that, what is the input that we have applied to this one? So input that we have applied is that Vin, correct? So Vin is the input what we have applied here. So what is that Vin? Vin is the input to which I have to, or that for that input I have to detect the peak, correct? So where I want that input, I want that input at my basic circuit. Where is your basic circuit? The circuit that is present around A2 is your basic circuit, correct? So whatever the V in that you are applying to the input, as the input of as the input to the CA1, the same input you are getting at A2 input, at the diode D1 input. Okay, so that's why we call this as a voltage follower. Output follows the input. Whatever you are applying it as an input, the same thing you are getting it at the output. Got it? Okay, so now what happens? So here, this A2, op amp A2, it acts as a buffer between the capacitor and the load. Okay, so here, this op amp is going to take care, A1 is going to take care that input thing. Okay, so input, whatever it is, it acts as a voltage follower, and it provides the input to the D1. Okay, so now this diode, it's going to forward biased, and this capacitor will charge, and what happens, it will detect the peak value. Okay, so now this A2, what we'll do is, so this A2 acts as a buffer. So now that when you connect load at this V0 to the output of the A2, so this extra circuit whatever we have done, so it prevents the capacitor from discharging. Okay, so now the capacitor has the strength to withstand the load that you are going to connect it at the output of the A2. Okay, so now output V naught at any given time is equal to the voltage on the capacitor, which is nothing but the peak value. Okay, so because of this buffer circuit A2, it will always, the output will be the peak voltage that it has detected so far, correct? Okay, so here whenever the input goes more positive than the detected peak, so then what happens? So here this diode 1 gets, whenever that input starts falling, this diode D1 gets reverse biased. Fine, so the same operation here also it will happen. Okay, so here whatever the D2 that we have connected extra diode D2, so it takes care of the A1. Okay, so that, so this A1, you know that this op amp, it goes to the negative op amp A1 should follow the input, right? So it should go to the negative peak and again it should come back to the positive peak. Okay, so while this happens, because these two circuits are disconnected now in the negative peak. Okay, so now whenever these two circuits are disconnected, so it should not what it should not the circuit shouldn't go, it shouldn't get what, it should work properly even when it is in the negative peak. So what happens when the input is in the negative peak? Diode D1 is reverse biased, whereas D2 gets forward biased. So this D2 will maintain this A1. Okay, so that it works properly. So once again, when this input comes to the positive peak, what happens? D2 gets detached. D2 becomes reverse biased and D1 becomes forward biased. So once it becomes forward biased, it means that there is a new peak value to be detected, correct? So because the output has gone above that peak, whatever it has detected so far, again D1 becomes forward biased and the capacitor starts charging. So is myself clear now, Deepa? Okay, so any other doubts for anyone? Okay guys, then if you are not having any doubts, then let's wind up for today. Asha, can you just stop the recording?
Yes, yes, months I stopped.
So thank you guys, thank you Asha. Asha, ನೀನೇ ಎಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು.